Security was an illusion, a flimsy curtain I'd drawn over my own fear. I learned that the night I found the first note. I lived in a decent part of town, a secure building with a buzz-in entry. I was meticulous. I always locked the deadbolts, always put the chain on. It was my ritual, but rituals can be learned, and locks can be picked. The first note was on a yellow sticky pad, the kind I kept by my phone in the kitchen. It was placed squarely in the center of my bedside table, right on top of the book I was reading. I stared at it for a minute, my brain refusing to process it. The message was written in a neat, almost feminine handwriting I didn't recognize. "You look so peaceful when you sleep," the note said. My first thought was that I'd sleepwalked, written it in some fugue state. It was the only explanation that didn't send me into a screaming panic. I crumpled the note and threw it away, trying to bury the cold dread setting in my stomach. I checked the locks. The deadbolt was thrown. The chains was on. Everything was as I'd left it. The second note came 2 nights later. This one was longer. "You talk in your sleep. You said a name, Clara. Who's Clara?" My blood turned to ice. Clara was my grandmother. She passed away 3 years prior. I dreamt of her that night. This wasn't sleepwalking. This was an invasion so profound it felt like a violation on my own soul. I called the police. They were very polite, skeptical. They checked the apartment, found no signs of forced entry. They suggested a carbon monoxide leak, told me to get a detector. I bought one that afternoon. It read 0. The feeling of being watched was now a constant, suffocating presence. I started setting up traps before I went to bed. A piece of thread tied across the door frame, a fine dusting of flour on the floor in the hallway. They were never disturbed. The third note broke me. It was waiting for me after a long, stressful day at work. I was already on edge. When I saw a small square paper on my pillow, my legs gave away. I slid to the floor, my back against the door, and read it with trembling hands. The chain is easy to slide back if you do it slowly. You should really get a better lock. Sweet dreams. He wasn't just getting in. He was mocking me. He was telling me my sense of security was a joke to him. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the corner of my bedroom with a baseball bat in my lap, staring at the door, listening for the slightest sound. I heard nothing. But in the morning, there was no note. There was something worse. On my bedside table, next to my book, was a single, long-stemmed red rose. And tucked under its thorny stem was a fresh sticky note. It read, "I'm sorry I frightened you. I'll leave you a note now. P.S. You're prettier when you're awake." I never found out how he got in. I never found out who he was. The police had no leads. There were no fingerprints. I moved within the week to a building with a doorman and a security camera on every floor. I got a massive industrial-strength deadbolt, but the fear never left. It changed me, because the true horror wasn't the notes, or the rose, or the violation. It was the realization that he was still out there, and he knew exactly how to make himself invisible. He was a ghost with a key. You know those 24-hour grocery stores? The ones that feel like little islands of light in the middle of the night? I used to work the overnight shift at one. It was boring, peaceful even. Just me and my bud Leo and the hum of freezes. But there was one rule, one single non-negotiable rule they told us on our first day. If you see a customer in a yellow raincoat, you walk away. We thought it was a joke, a weird corporate policy for a known shoplifter. We were wrong. Last night, I was restocking the soup aisle. It was 3:17 a.m. and I heard it. A sound like a wet footstep on the clean floor. My blood went cold. It was real. It was just standing there, and it was dripping. Little puddles of dark water were formed around its feet. The rule screamed in my head, "Walk away." But I was frozen. And then I got angry. This was just some person messing with me. So I did the stupidest thing I've ever done. I said, "Hey, you can't be here." Its voice. It was wrong. But I'd started this. "What do you want?" "I can't find my favorite chicken noodle. It's always out." I looked. The shelf was packed, stuffed with chicken noodle. It's right there." "It's not there. It's never there when I look." The smell hit me then, like damp earth and rotten leaves. I finally ran. I slammed into the back room where Leo was on his phone. "Leo, the raincoat. It's here." His face went white. "You didn't talk to it, did you? Tell me you didn't." "Excuse me. Found it. Thank you for your help. Could you open the door? I'd like to thank you personally." We didn't move. We didn't breathe. After an eternity, we heard the skelching footsteps walk away. We told the manager. He just sighed and said, "It's never over once you help him. It takes you a friend now." It's raining again, and my new friend is back. I think I want more soup. They say you can get used to anything, but you never get used to the sound of someone walking around in an apartment that's supposed to be empty. I moved into 3B on a rainy Tuesday. It was a classic studio, a little worn out at the edges, but it was mine. The first thing the super said when he handed me the keys was,
"You got the whole top floor to yourself. The unit above you, 4B, is getting renovated. Nobody's been up there in months."
For the first week, it was blissful silence. Then, the noises started. It began with the dragging. It was a slow, heavy scrape, like someone was moving a piece of furniture with a broken leg across the bare concrete floor. It would always happen just after midnight. I'd be in bed reading, and the sun would start directly above me, tracing a path from one side of my ceiling to the other. My heart would hammer against my ribs. I'd lie there, frozen, listening. I told myself it was the building setting, or pipes, or maybe rats. But rats don't wear heels. That was the next sound. A distinct sharp click-clack of a woman's high heels pacing a precise, repetitive path. Back and forth, for what felt like hours. It was maddening. I put in earplugs, but I could still feel the vibrations in my bones. After 2 weeks of sleepless nights, I mustered the courage to confront the super. I found him in the basement laundry room. "Mr. Henderson," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "The noise from 4B keeps me up all night. Is there something or someone living up there now?" He stopped sorting his linings and looked at me, his expression genuinely confused.
4B? No, son. Like I told you, it's empty. The owners are in litigation over the renovation costs. Hasn't been a soul in there since old Mrs. Gable passed away 6 months ago. Probably just the wind.
It wasn't the wind. That night, the pacing was more frantic. And then something new. A soft, melodic humming. A tune I didn't recognize. Something old-fashioned and sad. It was so faint I had to hold my breath to hear it. But it was there, drifting down through the vents. That was the moment the fear curdled into something else. Something deeper and primal. This wasn't a random noise. This was a presence. I became obsessed. I started recording the sounds on my phone, but they never came out clearly, just muffled thumbs and static. I'd stand at the foot of the building, staring up at the dark, grimy windows of 4B, convincing myself I saw a shadow move. One afternoon, driven by desperation that overrode my fear, I took the stairs to the 4th floor. The door to 4B was sealed with a heavy-duty lock, but layered over it was something that made my blood run cold. Police tape, brittle and faded with age, stretched across the door frame. It had been cut, but someone had left it there as a grim reminder. I never heard humming again after that. The pacing and dragging stopped for 3 whole days. I thought maybe, somehow, my investigation had broken the cycle. I was wrong. The silence was worse. It was a waiting silence. On the 4th night, I was woken not by a sound, but by a sensation. The faint, sweet smell of perfume. Gardenias. It was thick and cloying, filling my small studio. And then, a single, clear tap on my window. My studio was on the 3rd floor. There was no balcony. My breath hitched in my throat as I slowly, so slowly, turned my head. Pressed against the glass, staring in with empty, curious eyes, was the pale, gaunt face of a woman. Her hair was stringy and damp, and she was smiling a small, vacant smile. She wasn't standing on anything. She was just there. I screamed and scrambled back, falling off the bed. When I looked again, she was gone. I spent the rest of the night there, with every light on, huddled in the corner, clutching a kitchen knife. The next morning, I was at the super's door before the sun was fully up. I was hysterical, babbling about the woman at my window. This time his face went pale.
Gardenias? That was Mrs. Gable's scent. She had dementia. In the end, she thought she still lived in 3B, your apartment. She'd wander the building, trying to get back in. The night she died, she'd gotten out onto the fire escape. She must have been trying to look into her old home. She fell from the 4th floor, trying to get into your window.
I I moved out that very day. But sometimes, when I'm in a quiet room and I catch the faintest scent of gardenias in the air, I look towards the nearest window and pray I don't see a pale, smiling face looking back.